I found out that there's a price drop for stamps, and what were the previous prices for stamps, and what are they now?
Yeah, so this is something that's really unprecedented. It hasn't happened since 1919, and it's something that the Postal Service isn't exactly thrilled about, but are obviously complying. So on April 10th, the Postal Service reduced the price of a first-class letter postage from 49 to 47 cents. And there were some other price changes as well, postcards for oversized letters, some parcels, some of our commercial rates all went down, certain percentages. But for most Americans, the 49 to 47 cents is what they will see. And like I said, it went down on April 10th.
Why did the price drop?
Well, back in the recession that happened in the late 2008, 2009, 2010, obviously the economy was impacted, and the Postal Service was impacted by the economy, and we lost billions of dollars as the volumes of mail plummeted because of the strain. So the Postal Service has an overreaching organization called the Postal Regulatory Commission. Of course, we acronize everything. So that's called the PRC in our world. So the PRC tells us what we can and can't do with pricing. Now, by law, we're allowed to raise the price of postage once a year, and we have to go by the Consumer Price Index. So if there's some inflation, then the Postal Service can adjust rates within that inflation rate. But we made a case to this Postal Regulatory Commission, basically letting them know that the years when we had that recession were of great impact to the Postal Service, and we asked them to allow us to do what we call an exigent rate case. So in other words, it's an emergency, and it was above and beyond the rate of inflation. And they did allow us to do that. They allowed us to raise rates back in 2014, and again above the Consumer Price Index. And we had those prices in effect for 2 years. But at the end of the 2 years, the Postal Regulatory Commission basically said, okay, now you got to put the rates back down to where they were, prior to them going up. So not necessarily in our agreement. So we don't necessarily agree with that decision, but we did comply, and so that's why they went down. It's a very long explanation, and I apologize, it was cumbersome. But basically, in a nutshell, we asked for this emergency increase. They allowed us to do it for 2 years. We wanted it to continue. The Postal Regulatory Commission didn't agree, and so we dropped back the prices in April.
Yeah, that's a good, helpful explanation.
Yeah, didn't want to make it too long, but it's cumbersome.
So overall, do you consider this a positive or a negative thing, and why?
Yeah, so, that recession that we had obviously didn't just impact the Postal Service, but we are kind of the pulse of the economy. When the economy is good, companies mail, they advertise, they, send things through the mail. So that recession was really problematic. And what it did is it created a huge financial strain to the Postal Service. We are just at the point where we are, at the last couple of years, as the economy has strengthened, we are seeing some positive gains in our packaging delivery service, and we are starting to be able to invest in the infrastructure. And that specifically is technology, scanners, the platform to be transparent to our customers as to where their mail is, and specifically vehicles, which we really haven't replaced in over about 30 years. So, that additional revenue that we had because of that exigent rate case was really helping position ourselves for the future. Because we had to do this rollback, we're talking about a $2 billion a year loss that the difference in the prices will result in. So that's money that, again, we're looking forward to investing in our infrastructure and positioning ourselves for the future. So the price decreases, again, just makes more of a strain on our finances, makes more of a strain on our budgetary constraints to make ends meet. And just so you know, I'm not even sure that most people know this, but we're not supported by taxpayer dollar. So when you buy a 47-cent stamp, it really has to pay the way for that letter to be delivered from end to end in the country, and so that's the challenge: is how do you continue to do that with a changing economy and a changing mail mix?
So you mentioned a little bit about this, and since the price has dropped, have you noticed any change in the mail volume? And if you have, what was the change that you've noticed?
Yeah, it's really only been about 2 weeks. So, as far as I would say the casual postal consumer, we really haven't seen much of a drop. What we did see, or what we heard from our commercial mailers, is once they realized that the Postal Regulatory Commission, made the decision about the price rollback, is so we did see some of our bigger mailers, the ones that mail thousands and millions of pieces, that they waited. They knew that this was coming. They knew that the commercial prices were going to go down. And so some of them actually delayed some of their mailings so that they could take advantage of the new prices that went into effect on April 10th. So maybe we did see a little bit of a lull right before the rates went into effect, and then a little bit of a surge as some of those commercial mailers who were able to make those drops at different times. So, we did see a little bit of that, but I think, it's an interesting case to see whether lowering the prices encourages people to mail more.
Can you give any projections to how these changes might affect the Postal Service in the future?
Yeah, well, again, the loss of the $2 billion a year that we were realizing through the exigent rate case, is going to have an impact in the future. Like I said, it creates more of a stress on the Postal Service. We still want to invest into the future, and now we're just going to, just have to, again, make some difficult decisions about how are we going to get the money to purchase new vehicles, and how are we going to get the money to upgrade our technology and even our buildings and our post offices that have really been kind of on the priority list as far as what needs to be taken care of. So as far as the projections go, what the bright side is we are seeing a great boom in our package services as more and more people go to the internet and buy things and then need them delivered. So we are seeing a great increase in that, and so that is a positive as far as the price decreases first-class mail. Again, I hope that does encourage people to mail more. It's just a little too early to tell if it really will.
And do you remember any other time when stamp prices went down?
Yeah, actually that is part of the information that we shared. So the last time that the postage rate for first-class mail was reduced was in 1919. And it was an act of Congress, and they decided to reduce the rates prior to what they were at the beginning of World War I. So it's been almost 200 years, almost 100 years since we have seen a price drop. And of course, in 1919 and in 2016, the conditions around how pricing works is a lot different, but that was the last recorded time.